Welcome back to The Biblical Hitman. I'm your host, Steven. I have Heidi Love in the studio, ladies and gentlemen. She's a podcaster. She's a researcher. She's going to bring an awesome episode for us today, folks. But hey, listen, before we get into that, if you want to support the show, be sure to head on over to YouTube and you hit that subscribe button, like the show, share it with your friends, drop a comment down below, because that's really where we can, directly engage with the audience. But we're not just on video side of things. We're on the audio as well. Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you can consume any of your podcast content, that is where the show is. But with all that stuff aside, Heidi, good to have you back on. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to be back. And we were just talking about this one. This one's going to be a fun one because it is newer. I am barely done with this research, hot off the presses. Only one other person has had this info. So it's going to be fun. So
I'm excited for it.
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm like I said, I'm Heidi Love, Unfiltered Rise Podcast. You can find me everywhere podcasts are served or at unfilteredrisepodcast.com. If you don't want to do all that, you can go to my website. So, but like he said, subscribe to all the things, because if you don't, we will get lost in the algorithm. So
yeah, right. Hey, I wanted to let you know, and I usually do this for, returning guests, but I had a lot of great feedback from the very first episode we did, episode 50. I think it was episode 50, actually. Long time ago now.
Yeah.
I think that was back last June, but I hope the holidays treated you well. I hope the new year started good. And with all that said, where can anyone support you? Where can the audience support you the most?
Sure. Yeah. If you guys can't get enough and you do want to see some more, go to Patreon and look up Unfiltered Rise and you'll find me there. For $5 a month, I keep it really low. You can bypass commercials. You can get extra episodes. I don't cut my shows as of yet. Although if you're on the YT, I don't know, it's tempting me because they're giving 10-minute commercials now on my stuff. So,
oh, really?
which I do not have control over. So that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I
don't hate
all
us,
the
people.
things. Yeah, I unclicked all the things. I don't know what else to do. But yeah, so we had a brand new grandbaby for the holidays, so we've been having a lot of fun times with that. So
very well.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's good news. So in the green room, we were getting into the conversation of what topics are we going to pick? What are we going to attack today on this episode? We chose John Dee. I know I kind of wrote to you on messaging or whatever about the divine feminine. It's something I've been researching, and there's a connection there between that guy and the divine feminine and stuff like that. I wonder if you're going to maybe present something like that throughout your presentation. But hey, listen, the show's all yours. Wherever you'd like to start, let's roll.
I'm going to share the screen, but I do want to remind you, I can't see once I go back behind there. So always interrupt if you want to say something, because I always like conversations to go along with what we talk about. So
okay, awesome.
That way it'll be more fun. And if not, don't worry about that too. Don't feel pressured.
Gotcha.
But let's do this screen share here. And let's make sure that I push the sound, because last time I did not do that. And there is a little tiny clip. So
you got videos. Let's go.
I have one tiny one.
Nice.
And it's going to be that way forever. I know. It's scary looking. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Can you see this now?
Oh, it looks beautiful.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll go to the next couple. All right. Well, I was researching something. A lot of times people ask me, when you do your research, why do you choose what you choose, first of all? And what makes you go down whatever rabbit hole? And sometimes I'm just messing around with my own genealogy, because I'm the grand litmus test, because I am an ex-Mormon. For those of you that didn't catch our last show, you should go watch it. He said it was episode 50-something, so go back in time and go check it out, because the Mormons get greatly discounted. I will say this, I am an ex-Mormon, but it doesn't take away from the fact that all my family was Mormon pioneers. So I can't just chuck them all out just because I disagree, right? I mean, some stuff they do is good. And one of the things they did, and one of the things they've talked about, is something that's kind of one of the very first American conspiracy theories, which is fun. So I put into my search notes, Joseph Smith and John Dee, because I'm related to John Dee. He's one of my great uncles. And so,
oh, wow.
Down, great. I don't know how many greats, but it's not 10 times once removed. It's direct. And so, but I'm, my lineage is weird. I'm a Stewart, Stuart Talbot. I'm like that whole story about, he ran away to South Africa and then he came here and he was a weird Mormon until he died in Caseville, which is strange. Why? I'm still working on that. I
Wow,
don't
what a
know.
story.
Yeah, he's in
It's
line for
crazy.
the crown and then runs away, but I do think they were trying to murder them. So, I mean, could be that, right? Never know. But we get
Yeah.
the Jacobin movement from that. So, or the Jacobins, people say Jacobin. But, this story kind of goes along with that whole time frame. All of this stuff is happening, and Queen Elizabeth the First is in, and John Dee is her guy. He's her he never was part of the court per se. His dad was. His dad was the fabric chooser for the court. He was in court. And John Dee was really smart. In fact, he only slept 4 hours a day. I think he said sleep was overrated. Maybe he slept when he was dead. I don't know, but he read a lot. I understand. um, I get it. And this book is really good. I was telling you about, I'm going to bring it over here because I don't know if you can see it over there, but this is John Dee and the Empire of Angels. For anybody that wants to read about John Dee, this guy is still alive, Jason Louv. Just FYI, both of them are occultists, but hey, you're not going to learn it if you just learn one side of things. You've got to learn the whole story because it's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think you've
and
touched on that.
some people will be like, "Why are you getting into that stuff? It's not good to read that kind of stuff." Yeah, sure. Well, a lot of us are grounded, Christians and, grounded in our faith, and
Yeah.
it's good to understand, how the enemy works. It's good to understand their philosophies and how they think because it plays a part in reality.
Yes. No matter
We're at
what
war here.
right. No matter what we think or what we feel, it matters what the theys think and what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
We're not ever going to know the playbook. Like, are they going to come knock on the Christian's door and be like, hey, guess what? This is what we're doing today. No, I was led to this information kind of, I guess I'll say divinely. Like, I never asked for this. I never thought I'd be a podcaster. I never wanted to read about scary guys. John Dee's not as scary as Crowley, but it's all the same bathwater, if you get my drift. So we're talking about magic. And one thing is magic would have gone away a long time ago if it didn't work. I'm sorry. We have to deal with it. It's kind of like anything else with spiritual warfare. If you don't know, then you're not going to know what to do. So I think, it plays its part in history as well. And that's where it plays today. Less magic-y, more history, but it all comes together in the end. So, these people that have been lost to time, and we're generally, especially in America, a history of amnesia, right? Like Christopher Columbus was a good guy and everybody was nice and, whatever. And none of that's true. None of that. They've gotten rid of Christopher Columbus pretty much now and said, oh, he's a bad guy. I don't know where the truth lies, but I do know this. There's Rosicrucian roots there. And when we talk about Columbus, supposedly we're going to give him that he came to America first, even though we know not so much, and this is one of the guys that makes it not so much. And this guy, I didn't even know who he was. Well, this guy's name is Madoc or Madoc, Madoc or G. It sounds like Madoc, but it is Madoc, I guess. And so, this guy came to the shores of Alabama, apparently, really early on, way before Columbus. And this is kind of known, but they didn't want that out there. So they even took this sign down. So, in memory of Prince Madoc, a Welsh explorer who landed on the shores of Mobile Bay in 1170. And he left behind, with the Indians, the Welsh language. Well, he didn't only leave them a language. He left some kids because he got himself a wife. And, he made a whole new people, basically. And so they say that this didn't happen, but clearly it did. I mean, this was put up, if you read at the very bottom, DAR, right? Daughters of American Revolution put this sign up. Interesting. Interesting it is. Okay, so we've got the Encyclopedia Americana, copyrights, all these things. This is a documented human being, okay? But why did he disappear? I don't know. Weird, right? And what does he have to do with Mormons or John Dee? A lot, apparently. So when he was here, these people that he made, they turned into the Welsh Indians. And have you ever heard of these Welsh Indians before?
No. Where
Okay.
is this? This is in Tennessee? Where
Alabama is where he
Okay.
ended up, so they say. But yes, Tennessee comes into this, and here this is the legend of Prince Madoc and the White Indians. So when other people were coming through, they literally said there were Native Americans with blue eyes or green hazel eyes and blonde hair or light skin, and they were talking about these people that they were like, they don't really fit here. Like, we don't know what happened. But they knew Welsh, okay? And it was weird because one guy almost got murdered, and I can't remember which one it was, but he started crying out in his Welsh tongue because that's what he natively was, and he started praying in Welsh, and they stopped because they were like, "Oh, we know this."
Hmm.
And so they didn't murder him, which is very interesting. Well, these people, like I said, these people are really interesting. They looked like this. I mean, this is not your typical thoughts when you're thinking of what a Native American, here in America looked like back then. If we're just going off the history books, I'm not being racial profiling. I'm just saying that wasn't what I learned.
Right.
Um, and these people had a very strange, moon eye shape. So I was like, that's weird. Cause the only story I got was a pretty wild one. Like they couldn't go outside at all. It does sound like maybe some of them had albinism, but not all of them because they couldn't go out at night and they could only go out at night and not all of them. So this became some weird kind of like a Bigfoot story, but these people were real and they lived on and they went on to settle many areas. Okay, they became the Mandan. Have you heard of the Mandan tribe?
No.
So this is the tribe that they are. So they talk about all of this stuff and the funny thing is that John Dee comes up and I was like, "What the heck is he doing this Native American thing?" So I'm totally studying this other situation and this is what comes up. Okay, so John Dee writes a book about this Prince Madoc, okay? And I was like, "Why is John Dee concerned? What is happening? Like, why do they care? What is happening with
Yeah,
this?
that
Like,
is
what
interesting.
yeah, why is John Dee doing this? He's clear over in England. What's going on?" Like, I couldn't figure it out. So I was just researching it because he happened to come up in my research. I'm just looking for this little clip here. And I kept thinking, well, this doesn't seem normal that all of this stuff is here and we have none of it. Like, nobody knows about it. Like, I don't know if you're in the South or not, but like, why would no one know? Are you
Hmm.
anywhere near that area?
Yeah, yeah, I'm in Florida.
Okay, so this story is not out there, and I'm like, I'm looking for this one." Okay, so this is something I want to show. This is what came up when I put in John Dee and Joseph Smith. In the Book of Mormon, Nephi writes, "I, Nephi, being born of goodly parents, therefore I was taught somewhat in all the learning of my father." So this is what the Book of Madoc says by John Dee. "I, Madoc, born of goodly parents, was taught somewhat in the learning of my father." And I had a big eyebrow raised because this is one of the main scriptures that all the Mormons know. This is in First Nephi. This is like the beginning. This is like the beginning of the story. And I'm like, why is John Dee writing the Book of Mormon?
Hmm.
Like, I was shook. Like, look how very similar these are. Okay. And
Yeah. Yeah, I see
the
that.
weird right, yeah, it's a little scary, like, from an ex-Mormon that still has Mormon roots and Mormon family and Mormon everything, and I live in Utah. I went, what's happening here?" And I already knew some other weird facts. I am a lot English and Scottish and Irish, but the English that I have is a whole bunch Welsh, and I always thought that was really weird. I mean, because like, when you look at my posterity, like, and everybody before me, like, it just didn't seem like, "What? Okay, that's strange. I knew English," but until they started separating it more, updating the ancestry and all these things, because I spit in the tube. Like, I was a normie once, whatever, they've got it. Um, yeah. So, whatever. They update it sometimes, and I knew the second thing was after English, the first Book of Mormon that was created in another language was Welsh. Well, I also knew from studying John Dee and Enochian magic and Solomonic magic and these different things, trying to figure out what Joseph Smith was doing. I knew the characters were very similar. For most people, they don't know that Joseph Smith didn't just translate the book by scrying words, he gave symbols. And the scryer, he would tell the symbol to his scribe, and the scribe would write the symbol down, and Joseph would translate that later. This language was called Reformed Egyptian. It's very Mandan Welsh. Okay. This is an ancient Welsh language, Coptic language. Okay. And I knew a few things because I'd already done a couple other deep dives on like Dartmouth, and Dartmouth College is going to be very interesting for this, and we're going to get there in a minute. But we have to first get rid of this whole Madoc thing. Madoc was sent here by John Dee and Elizabeth I to go claim land. Now we have a very large problem if he got here first. If you come here for a queen or a king and you are in the time frame where you used to plant your little flag in the dirt and claim it for somebody, then they kind of owned it.
Right. I mean, that's how it works, right?
That's how it used to be, right? So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if he got here in 1100 or something, hence them taking down the Daughters of the American Revolution sign, if he got here first, according to this lovely sign in 1170, and not only did he plant his flag, he planted a people. He had babies. Okay. You
Right.
have to step back and go, okay, who settled America first? And if Spain doesn't own it to make treaties or sell it, who still owns it? I don't know.
Hmm.
Does the queen? Well, now the king. Um, I don't know, but I do know this. John Dee was pushing this book out like crazy because he knew that he had sent Prince Madoc here. Now, a lot of people are going to say this is just like no, this is an old wise tale, whatever. There's a place called Mandan, Nebraska. There's this tribe is not gone. Okay. um, something about the Moon-eyed people, they have a certain look, and something about Mormons, if you've known any, they have a certain look too. And I used to always laugh and say, like, I think I have these eyes because, like, maybe somewhere there's got to be Eskimo or Asiatic or something. No, there's not, but there is Aboriginal Canadian. Well, if they made it to Nebraska, my guess is they probably made it to Canada too. So, the Micmac or the Mi'kmaq tribe probably has some answers there, but we have even more than this. I mean, I wouldn't come with just a couple of silly pictures, but we'll show you another one here. These are clearly very light-skinned people. Okay. And we haven't got to how the Mormons play in yet, but we will. And it's kind of strange. Like, it's a very weird story. And so, you have to understand that there's these people, all these different Mormon people broke off when Joseph Smith died, and nobody had anything organized. He didn't make like, this is who's in charge and this is what's going to happen. He's like, yeah, my son will do it. And his son was 10. That's not going to
Mm.
work. So there was a scattering to the winds of all of this religion, let alone, I dare say, there was a scattering before that. But one of these people, okay, they all had their own prophet, basically. And one of the prophets are called the Kingstons. And I think we touched on them a little tiny bit the last time. Do you remember anything about them?
No. But
Okay.
what would a prophet do? Is this someone that channels or someone that
They are prophet, seers, and revelators. They do believe in direct communication with God. Like the prophet goes and talks to God right now. Okay.
Mhm.
But God for them and Jesus for them are different. And so they believe more like the Cathars in God, the Father, and the Son are separate people,
Mhm.
and the Holy Ghost. It's very Cathar. And you've been studying the divine feminine, it's very Templar.
Right.
And
Gotcha.
so They have a heavenly mother that they do not talk about. We don't know her name, but we do know this. They call their god Elohim, which, if you know about what that means, there's a couple things it can mean. People say, that's so stupid. It's just the name for God. No, it isn't. You need to read books. Look, either it is something not of this world. It can be a generic phrase, right? Like a extraterrestrial, like interdimensional, however you want to place that. It's somebody not of this planet, number one. Number two, if you get into these sacred texts that I'm certain you are into, you know it's the divine split between the masculine and the feminine coming together, right? So we know that fact, and we know that that's what they call their God, okay?
Mhm.
And we know that eventually this guy, the Kingston clan, he is one of these prophets. Okay. We've got the Jeffs clan, the Warren Jeffs clans over there. Brigham Young took off over here. The Kingstons, they were there for a little bit. And then they were like, you know what? You're doing it wrong because you don't want to do polygamy anymore. And we don't want to taint our bloodline. And you're going to let people in that we don't want. They were very Aryan centered. Now, does Aryan mean white? No, it doesn't. And people need to go back and look at some histories on that. But there are many people that are of color, including Asians and Eskimos and all kinds of people that fit in to the Aryan race when we talk about the Great White Brotherhood and Theosophy and all these things. So the Kingstons decided they were going to not mix with other people's blood because they knew this story also. And if you notice, look at their eyes. Every one of their eyes look like mine. They have this downward shape like a moon, kind of like that lady I just showed you.
Hmm.
So they used this is an old thing of theirs from Madoc and from the Mandan. You'll notice it forms a shape that is very demonized in this world today.
Yeah.
It's not
I've seen
what it
that.
means. Okay. This is old 1100s. Okay.
Mhm.
Not what it means. But there is a Templar cross here, and it's super important that we know that Madoc he was the dragon king. Okay. But oftentimes a dragon can be related to a winged serpent. And we do have a story about a winged serpent, don't we? Often.
Yeah.
A
Very
bearded
interesting.
Bearded
Wow.
white guy, right? Bearded white guy. And so, I started looking in all this early Mormon connections, and it says the early Mormon connection between Mormonism and Madoc stems from early leaders like Brigham Young. He reportedly believed that a Welsh settlement existed on the Rio Colorado and that the Hopi or the Mokai people were descendants of Madoc. This was part of a broader 19th century interest in the Welsh Indians. So even they are saying, and they're the ones that settled the West. Like, we can't just say they're crazy. I mean, yes, they were crazy and they were racist, but like, obviously, they cared a lot about all of this stuff. And they were actually pushing the Mormons to marry the Native Americans. So they weren't like typical racists. They're definitely Great White Brotherhood. Okay.
So, hey, that
Whoa.
symbol, that symbol, the demonized symbol, can you go back
Yes,
to
I'll
that real
pull it
quick?
back.
How old is
Mhm.
that?
Oh, it's
And
old. Yeah. This is old.
where
This
does
is
this
one of
trace back to again?
This is the Mandan or
Okay.
people. So
Okay.
this is the symbol that they found all over Alabama. Alabama, very interesting because the
Really?
Nazis end up there. Whatever. Listen, we're gonna pull it all in at the end, like I always do.
I was gonna, okay. I see like
Yep.
Eastern mysticism in here a little bit. I don't know.
Right.
We'll
Well,
see.
and he was Welsh and he knew, there's an old Egyptian story about this whole thing, okay? And these people, the Kingstons, stay by this. This is what the Kingstons say, which is why I brought them up, is they say this, okay? Don't shoot the messenger, guys. The Templars also talk about this, that Jesus went on to have children, okay? To Mary's and a Martha. It's not my story. But also, Tia Teffy's sister, another daughter of Zedekiah. In some accounts, she is described as a princess who fled to Egypt before eventually settling where? In the British Isles, where her descendants supposedly founded the Scottish royal line. Okay.
Hmm.
So they talk about this and I thought it was just cuckoo talk, but we're going to talk about it in DNA terms here in a minute because you know what I do, and I was a little surprised. So I guess today I'm sort of batting both sides. I'm not demonizing anybody. However, I don't really do that. That's how people take it. I'm just trying to help the Mormons not be used. But regardless, if people read this, they'll see this is the old teachings, the FLDS, okay? They are the ones that held to the true teachings of the church, okay? The true teachings of the church are nothing about what mainstream Mormonism is today. They sold out big time big. They sold out to be money makers of the universe. Like, that's just truth. Like, they told them either you cut out having all your extra wives or you're out and we're going to keep coming from you for you. And a lot of these people spread and said, nope, you're a false prophet when this happened, because that was the whole reason why they left everywhere they left. They were like, no, we're doing polygamy, bro. Like, we're doing it. You can't stop us, you know?
Hmm.
And what is America supposed to be, right? I say if you're over 18 and y'all make the decision together, none of my business. All right. That's why I've never hardly talked polygamy. As much as you hear me talk about Mormons, you rarely hear me talk about polygamy, because other than certain clans, it was usually over 18. So what are you going to do? But this Davidic line is really important when we start talking about Mormons, because it's always been assumed that this Davidic line was by baptism of the Holy Spirit. Basically, they became Jewish because they're God's people too. That's not it. Not it at all. And so we're going to go down how that is and why I know that. So this talks about, right, she fled to Ireland with the prophet Jeremiah and married an Irish high king. Notice they don't say his name. I'll tell you his name. It's the Nile of the Nine. And so, Nile of Nine hostages, this is important when we're talking about DNA and the possible unfounding of America. I'm not sure. But I think the Mormons knew some things, and I think they were really being demonized for the information that they had. Okay. So we have to go down this whole rabbit hole of, was he even here? Like, is this made up? Like, what's up with it? Well, I showed you one thing that we have. There's multiple other things. There's chevrons, circle crosses, the Alwyn sign. That's what I showed you, is the Alwyn sign. National banners, brass bracelets. They were actually soldered, which wasn't something they were doing in Native American people here yet. So they weren't doing metallurgy like that. Elegy, alphabet, and the jawbone, supposedly of Prince Madoc. Okay. Well, it went to, you know where? The Smithsonian, and it's never been seen again. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Nope. And
Hmm.
these guys, and they're Mormon. Like I said, today is a weird episode for me, but I'm all about truth, and that's all I care about. So if it goes a positive one way or another, that's how I'm going to present it, right? Because it's still
Mhm.
our history, and we have to start unlearning some things and relearning some things. And I think that's really important when we talk about this. Now, I'm not just talking out my, you know what, right? I want to show you guys some of the books that this was in. Okay, this isn't just John Dee. Chronica Welly, okay, written by Humphrey Lloyd. This is the earliest surviving account that claims Madoc visited America. John Dee used this unpublished manuscript to build his legal case for the Queen, that she freaking owned it here, okay? So that's kind of scary. Title Royale, a treaty by John Dee, presented to the Queen, asserting her right to North America, Terra Florida, based on Madoc's 1170 voyage. So, look, we've got some legal problems here that I'm sure they wish would go away. And I'm sure they did make them go away. History of Cambria, 1584, talking about this. We've got the Principal Navigations talking about this. We've got people that saw these Native Americans. We've got towns named after them. Like, come on. We clearly have people that came out of this union. Okay. Because we have these Welsh Indians that nobody can explain. And it's a big deal. Like, at this time, it is a huge deal. Like, back in the day, they're looking for them. Like they've apparently been driven out by the other tribes. The group supposedly moved toward the Missouri River in the 19th century. Explorers and painters like George Catlin claim the Mandan were these descendants, citing their light skin, blue eyes, and Welsh-like coracle boots. They also did not bury their dead the same way. They buried them in the ground by stacking stones, like very, very interesting things. Okay. So we've got all of this stuff that like, and then, and then on top of it, we've got what? We've got the mounds. Okay. The mounds, the serpent mounds, especially. Remember what I told you that he was this dragon king. This was his symbol.
Oh, yeah.
This gets a little crazy, and
Hmm.
I felt crazy actually studying it because I was like, what is happening? Like, is everything fake? Yes, probably. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. It really is a lot because everything I've learned so far about everything is not what I ever thought. So, this is just
Yeah,
one
isn't it
more.
wild?
Yeah. Like, what do you do with it? You're just like, "Oh my gosh." So, we've got
Yeah.
all of this stuff happening. We've got forts. We've got apparently a castle. Like, they say that this fort mountain in Georgia was 850 feet, 885 feet long, resembling European defenses and did not look like a typical Native American structure. Okay. Cherokee people talk about these people. They talk about the Moon-eyed people. Like the Moon-eyed people are all over the place. Like the natives are like, yep, they're here. The Welsh are like, yep, they're here. Like everybody's saying, yep, they're here. So I don't know that we can say they weren't here. You know,
Hmm.
it just seems like they were definitely here. And so it's kind of interesting, right? Like, but then we get into the big boost, right, of this. Who else is talking about it? Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson told Lewis and Clark to watch for the Welsh Indians during their expedition, and apparently they didn't find any. Okay.
Hmm.
So, whatever. All right. No solid proof, apparently. Like I said, we have towns named after it, everything. So, I don't know. It just seems like it's very interesting. And then, like I said, we've got these people that say they're not going to mate with other Mormons because the Mormons are dirtying up their line because they want to have statehood. They want their statehood and they want the Federal Reserve more than they want anything else. And so they gave up basically and they sold out. I mean, what's the first thing that happened when Brigham Young got to Utah? Did he stay here and be a weirdo with all his 55 wives? No. He almost immediately contacts, whoever he had to contact to help build the railroads. The Mormons helped build the railroads. This is a Mandan. This is a Native American Mandan lady and her son. I'm
Really?
sorry. If you've ever seen any Mormons ever, look at my face and look at her face. Okay? Right. The pointy chin and the moony eyes and,
Yeah. Well,
like,
she
there's
just
his
doesn't look at all Native
she's
American,
Germanic.
like at
Yeah.
all.
No, she
Just looks like
looks
a normal
German.
white person.
Yeah, German Dutch and she has a fair amount of Scottish and Irish in her. You don't say. I have a lot of that too. You don't say. And so it's just very interesting, right? And the Kingstons have these high cheekbones, which is like one of their things that they look like, they've got dark hair but very light skin and these moon eyes, okay? Well, the Kingstons are one clan that we definitely can continue to study. This guy here, don't forget. And this is kind of what their clan looks like the darker hair, but the lighter skin. I have a daughter that looks just like this. My family's quite dark. I'm the weird one in my family. I came out with green eyes and really kind of dirty blonde hair and was like, hey, and everybody else looks like this. So that was probably weird for them. I don't know. Then I
Wait, who
married
is this guy?
redheads.
Who is
He's a Kingston. And so to
okay.
show people what the Kingston clan looks like because they marry their aunts and sisters and cousins, I just wanted to show you what the pure line looks like for the Kingstons or the King's son, King's
Yeah,
stun.
yeah, I can see that.
Remember that because it's going to be important here in a minute with the DNA check. And a lot of this stuff was, like I said, it was known in certain areas and it was known to certain people, John Dee being one of them. But one of the other people were people at Dartmouth. Okay. And Dartmouth College is critical for the Mormon church. Even though they really hope you don't know that. They really hope you never figure that out. And I'm looking for one particular slide. But I'm just telling you, we're gonna get into Dartmouth, and I never knew this, okay? I never in my life knew anything about Joseph Smith other than he was a dumb farm boy that couldn't read. Remember that narrative because I told you that last time, right? So Captain John Smith of Pocahontas fame, right, cited the Chronicles of Wales to repeat the Madoc story in his history of Virginia, keeping the Tudor era myth alive for the Stuart audience. Okay, so this is like way bigger than just some Mormons and this dumb lady that used to be one. No, no, this is about the Jacobins. This is going to be about Rosicrucianism and what happened on the Mayflower. All right. So when we talk about the Mayflower and dumb Joseph Smith who doesn't know how to read, dumb Joseph Smith who doesn't know how to read, who's a poor farm boy who doesn't have anything and they just don't have anything and they're nobodies. Okay, they're absolutely nobodies apparently. Apparently. Um yeah, but you know, he knows people that literally are at Washington's inauguration, like the Washington.
Oh, I wouldn't
Yeah.
doubt it.
Whoops. Oh, we don't want to do that yet. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that one too, because it's one of the biggest families, period, settling here that he knows. So, first, we're going to finish up with these Welsh Indians and intermarrying the locals and becoming the Moon Eyed people. So, we know that Dartmouth knew about it, and we know that John Dee's works were being studied at where? At Dartmouth. Okay. And Dartmouth is just so critical. And something about Dartmouth and Mormons, which is super fun because I already knew this because I'd already studied it. Dartmouth's first professor was Dr. Johnny Smith. He didn't go by John. He went by Johnny. And he was a master of ancient languages and theology and philosophy and Newtonian science. I mean, sounds like a dumb farmer. I don't know. He was the board of trustees. He was the pastor of the Whitechapel. He was the college bookstore proprietor and the rare books collector. He was the college librarian. He developed the curriculum with Wheelock, which is the actual originator of the school, who was said to be a secret Rosicrucian. That's fine. Whatever. Totally fine. And he had these theology lectures, which were his magnum opus. Okay. But he was also Joseph Smith Sr.'s first cousin.
Wow.
And Joseph Smith just happened to live on the campus at this time because his brother went to the school and it was called the Dartmouth Indian School, or it was called Moore's Indian College. Okay, but it's inside Dartmouth itself. And these are pictures of the church because they had to go to church like 3 times a day because it's not for the Indians at all, which really pissed off Samson Occam is the one that helped like originate all the money for this place. And he was a native that actually trained to be one of the very first preachers in America that was native. And he thought it was going to be for Native Americans. And they kind of jacked his money and gave it to white people. And they just learned how to be preachers to the Native Americans. Okay. This very much upset him because that was not what he was told when he was traveling all around Britain with Mr. Wheelock. So Wheelock is the one that, starts Dartmouth. Dr. Johnny Smith is his bestie boy. And, this church is on campus and they're teaching people stuff. Okay. And one of the people that he teaches is this guy. And I know you probably don't know this, but people that watch this that know about Mormons will know who Solomon Spaulding is. Okay. Solomon Spaulding is somebody that they say Joseph Smith took his manuscript from his home and basically jacked his information and just plagiarized the Book of Mormon. I do not believe that. Nor do I believe he didn't see angels because I think that they were learning some curriculum that they received from John Dee, who spoke to angels, who made the current system of Enochian magic, who made the table to connect with spirits that way, which led into the spiritualist movement and it led into a lot of other things. Because if you know about the spiritualist movement and visions and stuff, then it leads into some Day Adventists and all kinds of people. Okay. Like this whole vision, talking to spirits thing, it's like a thing. So for almost every religion.
Right.
But Spaulding, he went to Dartmouth. Lo and behold, guess who was his teacher? Dr. Johnny Smith. Of course he was. So my conjecture is, look, Hiram Smith went there. Spaulding went there and studied underneath Dr. Johnny Smith. And also, Dr. Nathan Smith was there at this time, and he's opening up the medical school like there. They say he's no relation. I haven't found it yet. We'll see. Same last name. He ends up going on to start Yale Medical College, which Yale's the whole thing, and Skull and Bones. Well, you know,
Wow.
yeah, William Huntington Russell is Joseph Smith's fifth cousin. So we really have a problem here because we know one thing. We know now, because I've been studying so much, that Joseph Smith was no dumb farm boy. In fact, he had seven relatives on the Mayflower. Seven. So that makes him up for the Pilgrim Society. Okay. He's intricate, like, period. For everybody, like, says, oh no, they were from Palmyra, New York. No, they weren't. Their father's side was from some place called Topsfield, and Topsfield is in Salem. And the Salem, Massachusetts witch trials, they're involved in that because they are best friends with the Goulds, like the Goulds of the Salem witchcraft trials. Okay. And all of these people are like best friends and involved in like a crazy spy ring, which is coming out soon. I can't right now because it's a whole thing. I'm just telling you guys, like, it is so much deeper. I just stepped back and went, we've got grave robbing and spies and this prince. And now America's not from Christopher. Like, what? I don't know, but I do know these are all facts, right? They're not told together. Nobody wants that. That's for sure. But here we are. And so when we talk about all this stuff, and these pictures are not mine, just FYI, people, I didn't go to Dartmouth and take them, just because people give me crap sometimes. A guy named Bell does a whole presentation on Dartmouth, and so it's great. I can't remember his first name right now. But when we talk about all of this stuff, and we talk about Wheelock, and we talk about what's behind these people, right, that know this, we know that Wheelock was very close to who? The Jesuits. Like, I can't even make it up if I
Yeah,
tried.
there's so
Like,
much
it's
mystery school kind of like wrapped around this, you know.
one.
Well,
You
especially
nailed
too,
it.
um, John Smith, right? Johnny said that he
Yeah,
was
Dr. Johnny
studying or
Smith.
reading something, the magnum opus or something like that. But that means the great work, So there's
Oh, yeah.
um occult spiritualism behind this
Oh,
too.
well, and I'm going to tell you some things here soon because I know it's all over, and then I have to, because you always look at how to bring it all together, right?
Mhm.
But you have to lay it all out and then like bring it together because it makes no sense. Even in my brain, when I was doing the studying, I was like, what in the Sam? What? What is
Yeah.
going on here? Like everything you know about anything, okay? It just got thrown out the freaking door. And I was like, what has happened? What? They lived on the campus in this super fancy house. And then his brother clearly is like going home because he's living on campus in this super fancy house on campus. It's like the trustee house. And he's going home and probably teaching Joseph Smith all the things because he was sick. He couldn't go to school. But we've got not only those people that I've told you. Remember, this is in a day and age where getting in college, I think it was like 1 in 20,000 or something that people got into like a nice college. But yet we've got Joseph Smith's brother here, who's just some poor farmer. All right, fine. But we also have his mother's brother's son there. Okay. Stephen Mack Jr. And Stephen Mack, he's off busy because, he went on to found Pontiac, Michigan. He's busy doing stuff like that. Oh, yeah. He was also involved in like a huge bank scandal. And he also was like one of the first bankers over there. And he had his own ship and they're like freaking rich. And then he suddenly died after 4 days and like, meh, yeah. Okay. So
Jeez.
what is happening? Like, I had no idea. I was like, this is crazy. I almost felt like it was not true. So I started like researching each person. And then I found out Stephen Mack Jr. also got sick in the middle of his studies, so he had to go. Well, he decided he would become a successful fur trader, and he did. And he went on to be the founding father of Rockton, Illinois. Isn't that funny? I never heard about this, and I was a Mormon my entire life, and nobody knew. Nobody talks about this. Nobody's like, hey, the Mormons settled every freaking town ever. Maybe not all of them, but like it was a lot. Okay. And not only did he do that, he married an Indian princess that was super freaking important. Okay. And her name is Hananega. And I think I have a photo of her here. And he acquires, this is the depiction of Hananega. And I am so sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, people. I'm doing my best. She is Potawatomi Ho-Chunk leader. And she goes on to marry Joseph Smith's uncle's son. This is the guy that was at Dartmouth with him. Okay.
Hmm.
This gets weird because he ends up owning a whole bunch of land as a white man that he shouldn't have owned because he married her and then she died and then his next kid in line died. Anyways, it all went to him. And then he dies really strangely, like in a couple days too. So it's all very weird, but it's definitely a story to be told. Like you have to understand about Mormons and they're very patriotic and this would be a story they would tell. Okay. Like 100%. They would be like, guess what? Guess what our relatives did?
Right,
No,
right.
no, nobody does. And so when I saw all this and I was like, what on earth? Like, this seems crazy. This seems like it can't happen. So I look it up. Yep, here we go. This is the years they attended. They say he did not attend, but he did. His son did. And so Stephen Mack Sr.'s off making mad money. He's also making bad deals, apparently. I don't know. He's killed over it. And then Steve Mack Jr. ends up basically, rich, really rich as well. He also got reparations for his children because he had treaties done, like all kinds of stuff. And it all goes back to this weird Moores Charity School, which is Dartmouth. Okay. They call it Moores Charity School because they're hoping you won't look. They're like, oh, don't look at that. So yeah, Macktown, like I said, he got 1,000 acres of land where he built this trading post tavern. Okay. And he also was a bridge builder and he's like this big famous person. And I'm like, okay, right. Mormons just weren't going to mention that. Like what? So this guy is started to go and look at all of this stuff because like look at another Mack. This is another Mack, all right? He becomes like this huge prominent figure in Michigan history. He served as a state legislator. He's a successful merchant as well in Rochester, Michigan, where he also served as the township supervisor. So all these guys are like running the whole East Coast basically. And then we get into this other family called the Sykes family. Seixas. Have you ever heard of them?
No. This
Well, the
bloodline stuff is
Sykes.
so fascinating, because it really goes down a bunch of different routes, but you can bring
Oh,
it
it's
back to a
wild.
source. It's kinda
Oh,
well, the blood
100%.
bloodlines, well, that's for a whole 'nother show. We'll just save that for
Well,
another show.
the
Because it's
bloodlines,
like
I mean, honestly, that's what this is. And like I said, when we get to him having 7 people on the freaking on the Mayflower, like you have to understand there's huge, controversies about the Mayflower and Rosicrucianism that are floating all over the place. That
Mhm.
basically through certain people, and I'm almost done with this studying, that they smuggled the Rosicrucian texts, okay, through other people onto the Mayflower. And that basically when people say the New World Order is coming, I'm like, you guys missed it. It's already here. And you have to
Wow.
remember all these
Good point.
people that I'm showing you, all of them, they all went on to be polygamists and have a bajillion kids. And who even knows, speaking of bloodlines, like who even knows how many kids, right? It's kind of scary,
Well, and where they're at
actually.
today, you know?
100%. Because you think they're gonna claim that? Do you think they're gonna claim all of those families? No, I
Right.
don't think they will, you know? And I think they were told this on purpose because there's also a really odd story about, the Rothschilds where he was saying to his sons, "Go out and have babies everywhere." So, I don't think this was their idea. I think they copied somebody else, like always. But they did a dang good job of it because,
Hmm.
I mean, they got a lot of family, okay? One of the families that I definitely know today still exists. The Kingstons, they are inbreeding actively. They should be taken down, but they're not. They own all the Mavericks if you've ever been out west and gotten gas. Yeah, they own those. And oh, big surprise, they have big checkbooks. And they donate to who? Utah GOP and Utah GOP candidates for years. And yes, Mitt Romney always took these big donations. Oh, well, that's interesting because we know one thing about Mitt Romney's dad and his bloodline. Do you know that he took off? His dad was sent to Mexico when all the stuff was going down. And they're like, hey, you go settle Mexico and also marry into that whole area. And then they sent people to Hawaii and he married the Queen of Hawaii. And all these people marry into these super royal bloodlines, plus they're claiming royal bloodlines of their own, which we haven't even gotten into yet. But we are right now. So when the Mormons say that they are of royal patronage, I guess, everybody assumes that they mean because they're accepted like into God's royal line just through baptism. No. This study is not just a willy-nilly study. They should have blown this from the mountaintops, okay? When I read this, I was like, why is this not out there? This is a little weird because this would be something the church would be extra proud of because they'd be like, ha, told you. I shouldn't swear on your show, sorry.
No, you're
But
okay. You're good.
for real, right? They would be like
Right,
that
right,
because
right.
they would be so happy that they could prove this. And what they did, this Hugo Perego, okay, 2008, this is clear back. They found and isolated his paternal Y chromosome, R1b M222, and that is a very rare chromosome for the paternal line to the Nile of 9 hostages, which is Irish royalty of the 5th century, okay? So this suggests an Ephraimite royal Irish root, okay? All of the Kingstons amplify this as their holy bloodline, that they are from Jesus, Judah, Manasseh blend, echoing the Merovingian myths of divine kingship. Well, that freaked me out because I know one thing for sure. I am definitely related to the Merovingians. I am related to a whole bunch of kings and queens that I didn't know anything about until way later in my life. And my grandma was a genealogy like missionary. That was her job. And I didn't care. I didn't care one thing about it until way later. And when I started doing this work, of course, you get into bloodlines. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's gross. I don't want to be related to any of these people. You know, why is the King of England like my great, 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 like I think it's 6 times grandpa today? Like not 7 times once removed. None of that. What the heck happened here? You know? Well, I didn't understand it. And you can't understand it until you understand that the Rosicrucians were running. They were the ones basically being accused of witchcraft, but they really
Mhm.
weren't. They were like alchemists, you know,
Exactly, yeah.
and Gnostics. I mean, and I don't think anybody should be persecuted like that. But they believe this holy bloodline story that Jesus lived, okay, and went on and had these children and everything. Do I know what's true? I know what my Bible says. That's all I know. And that's what
Mhm.
I go off of. But this is kind of scary where it supports something happened, not necessarily Jesus, right? But this royal line. And there's this weird old bloodline thing that I go off of, and it's called One Royal Line. And it's real. The church used to print them off. Okay. And they can claim back to the Davidic line through this king. And I always just thought it was baloney until I started finding all this stuff. And Hugo Perego, what he did to get this is he went to all these family reunions and whatever. And you have to understand about Utah, like everybody's super jazzed if they're related to the prophet. So he's like, hey, can I take your DNA at your family reunion and be a weirdo and whatever? Worked for him. And they did this and they singled it out. Okay. And they've got the whole thing lined out and they know that this is part of the reason why they know everyone's. Like I promise you, even if you've never been a Mormon and you don't know anything about Mormonism, if you go put your name in familysearch.org, I swear to you, your stuff will be in there. And that's
Wow.
terrifying. Yeah, that should scare people
You know,
because they
it's
know.
funny that the Merovingian, that myth thrown in there that they think that they have some sort of genetic relation that goes all the way back to Jesus. It makes me think that at least in their scope, in their view, their perspective, the way they see that is that they have a divine connection to an ascending master.
A
And
100
you see what
they
I'm saying?
they are
So
Gnostics.
right.
I can't
So
prove
whatever
it.
movement they're going to push forward, right, with their influence, and they're gonna influence others to do the same thing, is to push for some sort of enlightenment to mankind so that we can all be ascending masters,
It's gonna be a
in
lot
my opinion,
easier
I mean.
than you might think because here's what happened. So through the tribes, okay, they sent all these missionaries out. Jacob Hamblin was one. You can go see the Jacob Hamblin House in St. George, Utah. It's still there. The Zuni, the Hopi. We have all these Native American cultures that they married into. Then they married into the full royal line in Hawaii. Okay. Like Hawaii's taken over by Mormons. Forget it. It's gone. And then
That's
we
crazy.
have, yeah, and I have a whole breakdown of it, kind of like this, but worse, like more verifiable because it was later. Right. And so we've got all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of scary. And then we know that the Project Paperclip Nazis end up in Alabama where they're talking about all this and it gets worse. Then I find this. So John Dee, we're still talking about John Dee, talking about this, was involved in the Rosicrucian order, a German Rosicrucian order called the Zionitic Brotherhood. And it landed in America in the 1600s from what is Belgium. Okay. Do you know what Mormons call Utah?
No, I do not know.
Zion. They call it Zion.
Oh, okay, yeah, Zion National Park. Yeah, yeah. Alright.
Yep. And it is their Zion. And then we've got this Zionitic Mormon Brotherhood. Okay. And this headquarters of this Rosicrucian Order of Zion was in Mormont, Mormont, pronounced Mormon, Belgium. Yeah. Now
Oh,
we're starting to
wow.
pull everything
I
together.
see,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so this this Zionistic Brotherhood, yeah. Yep, it gets weird. They have the Melchizedek priesthood and this whole thing with the three priors of the order were named Peter, James, and John. The order still existed in 1829 in Pennsylvania when Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery claimed to receive the priesthood from who? Peter, James, and John. They said that apparitions appeared to them in Pennsylvania, okay, and gave them the Melchizedek priesthood, which is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Apparently, this is totally fictitious and it's in the Da Vinci Code. And yeah, the whole Holy Blood, Holy Grail. However, this is not that. This is John Dee's writings, but it's totally fake. Fake. Don't worry. Don't worry. I remember when Holy Blood, Holy Grail came out and my grandma lost her mind and she was so jazzed to go see it. And she was like, oh, this is so important. And I remember thinking, this is stupid, like whatever. This is like dumb king stuff, but I was young. Right.
Mhm.
And she was so excited because she probably knew all this because she's this Mormon history
Right, right,
genealogist.
right.
So she knew probably about this Ephrata commune in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So we know that Joseph Smith goes on in all of his teachings, okay, to try and make a communal living. That is one thing that he tried to do. We know that all of these really important people, including seekers, they were a family of what? Seekers. Solomon Mack. He's a seeker. Do you know what the seekers became?
Mm-mm.
They became spiritualists. And the Seventh day Adventists lady, the prophetess of the Seventh day Adventists, she was a Gould, Gould. Oh, wait, we've heard that name before. Where did we hear that name before? Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
At Salem. And wait. Oh, yeah. The Smiths went on to marry into the Gould's family line for 6 generations. Mhm. I have proof not only in books, but online and everywhere. Okay. There's a book called Joseph Smith's English Heritage or New England Heritage, something like that. And it's all over the internet. Like if you put in the Goulds and the Smiths, it will come up. Priscilla Gould, like that's the family. So we also have him related to the sisters that started up spiritualists. And we have the Macks. Don't forget about these Macks because that's the mom side of things. Taking off to Canada all of a sudden, like in the middle of the night, he just takes off. Jason Mack, he's a spiritualist, and he takes off to go, and that's not going to play, but we're going to try in a minute. He takes off to go to Canada, New Brunswick area, and guess what he starts? A commune. And he was known to do animal magnetism and all kinds of cool stuff way before it became popular. And then this goes and bleeds down into California. And like the lady that started Stanford, she's called like the mother of Stanford. She was a Huntington, which is a very Mormon name. I checked her out. She's definitely from the line, but she was an avid spiritualist, not a Mormon. Weird. Well, we've got this everywhere. Okay. And then these two guys that are trying to bust this out and tell everybody about all this because they're excited. They're like, oh my gosh, we found Quetzalcoatl, you know?
Right.
I mean, they're freaking out. Like these guys are Mormon jazzed. Okay. These guys are going crazy. They're excited. He wants to tell everyone, and he goes and interviews this museum lady, which I'm going to hopefully share. It did this last time too with the audio. I might have to go in and out again. But anyway, their names were Alan Wilson and James Michaels. Well, guess what happened to these two guys? Have you ever read the Fritz Springmeier book and you know about the 13 bloodline families and blah, blah, blah?
No, but I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
Right. And then everybody goes, oh, Fritz Springmeier. No, he went to prison. He's a convict.
Yeah.
Don't worry. So did these guys become. Guess why? All of a sudden they get arrested because they're being super annoying because they handled some piece of art wrong. I'm not kidding. So I'll show you this little video with this lady and how they're trying to obfuscate this. And this one got me because this is like a real life, like I'm going to show you like what happened here. And you're going to be like, why are they being so weird? Like if this is bunk, who cares? Right?
Right.
Nobody should care. But I think I got to reselect it, maybe like remove it and reselect it because it's not. We remove it. Sorry, I can't get out.
What does it give audio problems or something with it?
Yeah, it's just not playing the audio right now. So
okay. Gotcha.
If you can remove the screen share,
if
I'll
you
reshare.
I wonder if you can do it
There
at
we go.
where it says yeah, I think you could just hit stop screen share. See where it's like purple?
There we
It
go.
says stop.
Okay.
There you go.
Got it. I'll just try one more time. And then if it doesn't,
Okay.
I'll just recap what it says because I don't want to be like
Gotcha.
forever on that. But it's very interesting who this lady is and this museum and the whole thing. It's wild. Like I can see why these guys got arrested too. It's hilarious. And yes, they're very MK Ultra. I don't know what to do about that. They're Mormons. Like they're freaking, this is the epitome of weird Mormonism, but whatever. I can't help it. Okay, let's
Their
try
version of like a Holy Spirit is MK Ultra.
Yeah, 100%. I hope it finally did last time, and then it looks like it's not.
It sounds good. Is it the audio?
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I can't hear it, but as long as you can, that's fine.
Okay. So the copper we know is from Southern Great Lakes Superior.
I see. Tower Island, where the Indians did most of it. But has it been analyzed to see if it has been smelted? Because we have found some on the comment that it has been smelted that's great antiquity.
Not to my knowledge.
It needs to be. Where are the copper? Where are the copper bracelets?
If they're not on display, then they're in my archive.
They're in your archive?
There is one on display.
Oh, a copper one?
Yeah.
Excellent.
And if you look in the timeline.
Okay. Now, your job here is you're curator. Do you work for the park department?
Her face kills me.
West Virginia.
State Park.
You're a historian or you're archaeologist or a historian?
Actually, my degree is in accounting, and they hired me when State Park I also function as a state park superintendent.
I see.
And I've been here since 1981.
Okay.
And the idea in those, most state park superintendents prior to me
Yes.
were coming out of biology
I see.
and history.
Okay.
Then as state parks became a large revenue for the state of West Virginia, they decided maybe they needed business people.
Oh, well,
So
good.
what they've done with us is, and now the new superintendent's coming on our Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
What happens, every state park is different. West
Yeah.
Virginia's a magnificent state park system. So what happens is, over the last 10 years, I probably have read everything, gone to as many classes as you do once you become engrossed in your job.
Yeah. That this turkey, now you can see after looking
Okay,
at
so
Okay, so this lady is she's a
she's
historian, or what's her deal?
right. This is why I shared it. He said,
Okay.
"So you're the museum curator?" And she says, "Uh-huh." And he said, "Or a historian?" And she said, "Uh-huh." And then the next thing she's like, "Well, actually, I have a degree in finance." She runs the
Yeah.
museum, bro. So I'm going to stop the share while we talk. So I'm like, okay, what? Like, why are you like, what is happening here?
And
Why
what was
are
that
you?
guy? What was that guy questioning? He was kind of like
So
questioning the authenticity of something, right?
he wanted to know where the stuff was about this prince that I'm telling you about, because they're supposed to have it at this museum. And she's like, well, I don't know. And he's like, well, where is it? And she's like, she's kind of him han. And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, so you're like an archaeologist or whatever. And he's pushing her. And this is the guy that ends up in prison because he handled some weird thing wrong.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And he's this Mormon guy. So, like I said, like in a little bit of it, I mean, I'm sort of sticking up for this guy because I feel bad for him because I think he's right. I think what he's saying is true. Like I've showed a whole bunch of information tonight that proves we have a problem. Like we have a serious problem here that nobody's addressing, and this lady does not want to address it. She does not want to talk about this prince. Nobody wants to talk about this guy. Nobody wants to talk about these people, but the natives are people that they cannot get rid of them. They're the one people that they can't really kill their history or burn their books because they don't have any. They've got, their sacred stories go mouth to mouth. Like they tell their story to their family and, it's a tribal thing. So they're not just going to tell anybody. And they've kept their history intact. And this lady, she doesn't know anything about anything. But this guy clearly knows what he's talking about. And he gets in trouble, not only with the church, but with other people. So these two guys' names are Alan Wilson and James Michael. And there's been other people that have researched this. This isn't just me. This is like Dr. Bell, PhD, all these people, like I said, like there's been a ton of people that have talked about this, but nobody really wants to get into it because if what I'm telling you is true, then the New World Order was here when we got here.
Oh yeah, I think it started in, Europe, right? Kind of made its way over here, rooted itself. I think it knew about this land. It came to this land purposely. I think there's a lot of
Do you know the
significant.
Francis Bacon
No.
stories
Oh
about him?
yeah. Like I think there's a lot of significant ritualistic lands here. I think there was a lot of paganistic worship here. There was a lot of like mystery here, a lot of mystery
Yes.
religion, and I think it attracted a lot of people. I think a lot of people were led to create what America is today. I think John Dee had, a connection, a revelation, whatever you want to call it, with divine feminine being helping uh, influence him to then, create the movement that he helped establish in the European area, and then it branched off kind of to America as what you've kind of presented in this podcast. But then later on, a couple hundred or so years later, George Washington starts to have a
George
connection with
Washington.
the
We're going to
divine
talk
feminine
about
as
George
well.
now. Yes.
And then
So I'm so
what do you
glad you
have?
brought that
You
up.
have the United States of America established. It's
Yes.
kind of, you see how it kind of domino effect all the way over.
Well, George Washington is interesting because this Sykes family that I told you about, they were escaping from Portugal underneath the whole, Inquisition there. They were forced to become Christians and they eventually got here, but they say that he smuggled out like an original Torah. I'm not kidding. He's like supposed to be super, super, super important. And his name is Gershom Sykes, Seixas. He was one of the only people, like, I think there was only like 12 or something at the inauguration of George Washington. He's one of the first Jewish people here to like do a prayer for Thanksgiving. If you look up who gave like the first Thanksgiving prayer for George Washington, you're going to see this guy's name, Gershom Sykes. He goes on to form a huge society, okay, like everywhere where he landed, basically, and his religion, right? But he's only half Sephardic Jew. The other half is a problem. And his wife's line is the Levies, Levy. Why do I say it's a problem? Because of Sabatianism, right? So we get into Sabbatai. And anybody that doesn't know who that is probably should know who that is. When we look at the Sabbatian movement, people say, well, these people are evil. It's all the Jews. No. You need to look further. This is all these certain people because they followed this certain guy. It has nothing to do with like who they are as a people. Okay. It has to do with who they follow, much like the Mormons. All right. Like it's not that, it's all of them. And the Sabbatian movement, are you familiar with the Sabbatian movement at all? Okay. So they believe when you hear of the worst things possible in the world and you step back and go, why would somebody do that? It's because they believe that you don't wait for the end of the world to happen. You make it happen. And the way you make it happen is by doing the most heinous evil crap that you can even concede, including sleeping with your family members like the Kingstons do, including, graping kids. Okay. I said it that way for a reason, people. I'm not trying to be cute. Because I don't want to get kicked off of things. It includes like getting rid of children, and you can figure that out, what I'm saying, because in the magical world, we have to understand that the highest price that you can pay in the magical world is what? Blood. Right?
Oh, yeah. Right.
They're into it. And the blood of a child is really important. And oftentimes, and this is why we relate to the Faustian bargain, right? It's the blood of your firstborn, especially if it's a male. Okay. Well, I find it interesting that there is this huge connection between the Sykes family because his son taught Joseph Smith, the ding dong that can't read or write in English, how to do Hebrew. Okay. So let's teach the guy that can't read or write English how to do that in Hebrew because it's impossibly hard. But yeah, let's do that, So he's got a lot of things that are going on. This is a false flag. Like they're just trying to make him seem like, oh, he's a dumb guy and he doesn't matter. No, they matter. They are very involved 100% in, like I said, spy rings. They're involved in the setting up of America, basically. His great-great-grandpa, Captain Samuel Smith, is in charge of the Boston Tea Party. Like, these are not nobodies. That doesn't happen, okay? And they're called select men. And that's just the dad's side. The mom's side's just as bad. And they're related to the same people on the Mayflower. Isn't that funny? Why would you want to marry your cousin? Oh, I don't know, but the Kingstons do. So when we look at all of this and this purity of the bloodline, they don't always mean black and white. That's not always what they're saying. They're talking about keeping their bloodline pure because they believe they're literally, and that they probably are, as the geneticists have proved, from these certain bloodlines, right? And they're doing this Egyptian weirdo stuff. They really are. It is a Canaanite religion. And my thing is I don't care what religion anybody wants to be. I will I will back off and let you do that because I understand, because I was once there. There's nothing you could have told me 15 years ago that would have made me change my religion or what I was doing at that time, period. You can plant little seeds. That's the best we can do, and pray, right? That's what we have to do. But otherwise, I would have blown you off. I probably would have like blocked you on stuff. Like, I would not have put up with that because that's anti-Mormon propaganda or anti-whatever propaganda, right? So when we see this, and like I said, they've already been acquiring land and stakes to land through the native people, natives of Hawaii, natives of Canada, natives of America. They're marrying into them, and they're taking wives, and they're having children and putting their stake here. And then they're in tight with all these really important people who are bankers, by the way. Yeah, bankers. And they're in with very important people like Kuhn and Loeb, like the railroads, like the colleges, all of this stuff. Okay. And then we get into the movements. We've got spiritualism. We've got all these other little movements that realign with it. Same name. Priscilla Gould is in the family of Joseph Smith, and a Gould is in the family with the Seventh-day Adventist prophetess. Like, okay, that's a little interesting. They already took over through religion. They have done this. People say there's going to be a one world religion. There is one. We just don't know. They've done it. They have infiltrated every single piece that I've ever found. And I'm not just saying the Mormons. The Jesuits are aligned. The other people, the Jehovah's Witnesses are aligned. We've got Huntington Russells and the Skull and Bones and all that stuff. And that's the fifth cousin of Joseph Smith. Even though he's a nobody dodo farmer dude, like whatever. No, he had to move around a lot because they were accused of witchcraft constantly, as I'm finding out in these really old books I buy. So when we look at this and we know that they literally succeeded in all of it, and it has this Rosicrucian undertow. They say that this guy on the Mayflower got the keys to Rosicrucianism, and they went with him on the Mayflower. Okay. And this is a story, so I'm going to flush it out first because I hate to spread like stuff I haven't vetted. This is the only thing that's kind of a maybe. And so when I look at that and I say, okay, we've got Dartmouth, we've got all these people, we've got John Dee, we've got the Queen of England. And then you start looking at what happened to Utah after the railroad was done. We've got these people that come in that start selling land, our land in Utah, to the crown. All the silver mines, all these mines. And then Howard Hughes gets involved because he starts doing it. And then you look at like Jerome Mack, who's working with the guy that helped E. Perry Thomas. Okay, E. Perry Thomas is the Quiet Kingmaker, but nobody looks at the guy that helped him start that. He's a Mack. Mack is Joseph Smith's mom's name. But the better one is her mom's maiden name. Want to know what it is?
What is it?
Lydia Gates.
Oh wow.
We have a problem, Houston. And people will push back
okay.
on me. Yeah. People push back on this, but I have this well documented. Daniel Deacon Gates is an actual relation to Lydia Gates. And you cannot find it if you put in, is Joseph Smith related to Bill Gates? It's going to say, go away. No, because they don't want to tell you. But if you ask if it was relation to Daniel Deacon Gates, yes, because why? He was super important in history. So they don't want to like chuck him off. And this Jerome Mack that helped E. Perry Thomas with Las Vegas, I'm not even like, I almost want to reshare it, but I won't do that because it's a whole thing. But I'll send you the photo so you can like post it in a short or whatever you want to do with it. They look like doppelgangers. They're so scary the same.
Really?
Like if you have access to just Google it, you can Google Jerome Mack, Las Vegas, settler, Las Vegas financer, maybe. But they are terrifyingly similar. And when I seen it, I went, oh my gosh, like this is scary because there's no way they're not related. And I can't prove that one, but I can prove Gates and how it goes down Lydia Gates's line. Like I have the exact correlations and where it connects. So when we get into the Pilgrim Society, which nobody talks about, okay, then you start to see why it matters, because certain people kept the keys, and the Mormons will tell you constantly, we have true masonry. We are the ones with the true masonry and the true keys. Okay, they constantly talk about this. Well, it's rumored that those Rosicrucian manifestos and all this stuff that ended up here went through the Joseph Smith line, through the Goulds, and they were part of this spy unit, and it was super crazy. But all of this was supposedly like a piece to this Rosicrucian manifestos. They're not the only ones that got them, but they definitely had them. And Brigham Young tried to bury them, but he's 100% involved in this too. He's got the same bloodline.
Wow.
And for anybody that's had their patriarchal blessing, you know, when you get about teenager age, you go have something called a patriarchal blessing, and they tell you what tribe you're from. And I always thought, well, that's kind of weird because it's just some old patriarch. This guy's like just some guy, right? And he puts his hand on your head and anoints you with oil and tells you some stuff about your future, basically like a future telling. And you know, he's like, oh, if you do this and this and you get married in the temple, you'll be blessed and you'll have children and blah, 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 blah. They tell you this. I should order mine before they really chuck me out, or I chuck myself out, because it still hasn't happened, which is shocking. I'm almost annoyed because I want my day, right? Like I want my day in court.
You're like, dang it.
I'm like, dude, hey, I want my day, but that's probably why they'll never do it. 2 reasons: my bloodline and that they know I'll make a stink.
Oh,
so.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, probably that. But, you know, ultimately they tell you you're from the tribe of Manasseh. You know, if you're a Jewish tribe of Ephraim, if you're the white, you know, royal line, whatever, they tell you this. And I always thought, how does he know? You know, like, okay, old guy, what do you know?
Right.
Now
right.
I know they probably did know, right? They probably have our file on all of us at the moment of birth, like literal. And so
That could be.
yeah, no, 100%. They have everybody's information. I mean, and there's rumors of weirder stuff like portals and time travel, and it gets crazy. But that stuff is more woo, right? I'm just giving the cold hard facts.
Right.
But these cold hard facts add up. And when we look at this and we look at what America is, like, we have no knowledge of the true history of America. We only know what they spoon feed us, and they're constantly changing it. They're like, oh no, Christopher Columbus was a bad guy, JK, like whatever. And he probably was. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying that's not what I was told at school, you know, when I was a kid.
I think they really do. They suppress and they try and hide a lot of the occult roots of America.
100%.
Yeah, they just don't want us to question that kind of material, you know?
Well, we're just goyim. They have the keys.
Yeah.
They have. We're just dumb, stupid people. Go about your business, you know, goyim. We need you here because we feed off you, basically, and harness your energy and, you know, make you do the things, and you're the slave and you work for us. And like I said, the Mayflower thing, if the Rosicrucians got on board, they're going to want their neighbors to come. You can't have a whole boatload of witches just show up. That's going to be sus, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to take the other people. You've got to be like, hey, come on. Hey, neighbor lady, why don't you come with me to America? So you look normal, and you do look like a farmer, and you do look like you're nobody. These people were all seriously into the patriot movement. And, you know, it gets into Washington, it gets into banking. And when we get into like the whole Federal Reserve thing out here in Utah, it gets weird. I mean, secret societies, crazy stuff that I never knew. And I lived here. I lived here my whole life, you know?
Really?
No, nothing. We hear none of this, just, you know, all the good things. And that's fine. It's not necessarily, I mean, I guess everybody was going that direction, but definitely I think we should know the lady from Stanford, the founding mother of Stanford, whatever. I think it was her sister that was married to Robert E. Lee. Look, these people are important.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just discount some of it, because then you get the Templar stuff from Canada. And then the guy I interviewed from Canada that knew all about history up there, he's like, Robert E. Lee used to come up here all the time. Or the fact that, you know, 14 days before JFK was murdered, he gave a speech here. in Utah. Like, come on. And I already know that one because I've already sussed that whole thing down, like Permindex and the whole thing. But it makes all of that make a whole lot more sense, right? Because it doesn't make any sense when you look at the Permindex board and you see a mobster and then a lawyer that's for this rich royal family and, these ritzy people. And then you go, well, why are they here with Clay Shaw? What's that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like it makes
Yeah.
it make more
Yeah.
sense if
Yeah.
they're the
Connect the
ones that
dots.
have the key. Yeah. I think that the Rosicrucian, I'm not bagging on them at all. I'm just saying they've been behind a lot of things and it's probably some nefarious faction. I'm not saying they're all bad, right? It's not, I don't know. I don't know a Rosicrucian that I know of. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to judge them all as a society, right? That's why I say it's not just the Jews. It's not just them. It's not just the Rosicrucians. It's not just the Jesuits. But I will tell you, Onassis doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense in this whole, World War II thing. And he's the only one that never had a boat sink and blah, blah, blah. But then you look and see who his banker is. Well, it's the same banker as who? The Jesuits, as the Pope,
Mm,
as the
right.
Pope. And then we've got David M. Kennedy there, who's in besties with this guy, okay? With Sindona is who I'm talking about. And so when we look at the breakdown of it from the top to the bottom, you have to start shaking your head, especially when I found out the very first principal of BYU, Brigham Young University, is Peter Till's great uncle. I don't
Wow.
know. So I've got the Gates and I've got Peter Thiel. And I'm just saying maybe we should do a little more looking at the stock portfolio for the church. And we see, the number one is Microsoft. Number two, it's like Amazon and Nvidia and in it, it's all of that. And so when you
Wow.
start looking at the prominent families, you have to start questioning, are they all in the first families? And I dare say they are, because when I look at my line and I see almost every president, almost every important, like it's like all the important people. And you're like, how is this all related? Like it almost seemed fake when I got mine. I was like, this is a lie. This seems totally fake. And then my husband, I mean, we're all,
Right.
Mormon stock. So, I mean, he comes from the Smith line. I don't. I'm from the women. So we all start looking, right? I'm like, oh, I'm going to check with my ex-husband. I'm going to check, we're checking everybody and it's all the same. And I'm like, that's a little scary. And people will just blow it off. Polygamy. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it was. It can't just be that. We
Right.
have to look at what's going on now and how everybody says New World Order, everybody says this other stuff. There's other secret factions running all of this. Like I have a super old book and they talk about something in Utah called the Sevens. And that pyramid, if you've seen that pyramid, the sevens are right on it when you get all the way up to Lucifer at the top of Freemasonry. Like, so they say, I don't know. I'm not one. I'm just talking about the diagram,
Right.
and
Right.
and the ascended masters, like all of that, like it all means something. And so we have to step back and go, well, that's really interesting that almost every single person that's like the richest person in town is either best friends with a Mormon or some really close Mormon tie, because Mormonism is not that big. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
Catholics. If you said that about a Catholic, people would go, so? Because like there's a lot of
Right. Right.
Catholics, it's not the same thing. This is not the same thing. And, speaking of which, Donald Trump's best friend is a Mormon. So, I mean, you can't make it up. And actually, he got in trouble and he had to like surrender his stuff, because I just barely did a post about this. I'll hurry and tell you the name. But like even Elon Musk behind him, Jared Birchall, he's a Mormon. Like there's always some very important Mormons when we're talking about finances or whatever. And I think it's because of their bloodlines, honestly,
Oh, I'm
you know?
sure. Well, it's
Yeah.
almost like well, I don't know if it's nepotism. Maybe it's a certain
Mm,
style of nepotism, but because you get this connection back to what your ancestry or your families, right? Like you're always
mhm.
involved in something because of what was laid out, the generations before you, and you're just kind of
Yes.
like born into this kind of stuff. Very similar to like your story, right? Like you were kind of just born into this situation. And maybe some people are ignorant to the history or whatever, but I still think they're influenced by the same
I
aura.
do
I don't
too.
know. I mean,
I 100% agree with you. And it's Steve Witkoff's friend that is the one that's close with Trump, and then he's the one underneath him, and I'm trying to find the Mormon name. But he had to resign his position because he had some sex scandal with Jack Nicholson's baby's mama.
oh wow,
You
that
can't
got
even
out,
make
huh?
it. It's so ridiculous. When I started reading it, most of the time when I hear something crazy like that, I'm not like the type person that's like, "Oh, yes, Mormon burn," I'm always like, "That cannot be true."
Uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh.
just weird. And you step back and you go, "Yeah, I like you said, I was born in it." Like there's some people that are in it, and I think they just know, right? Like they know
Uh-huh.
who's gonna go the whole I think everything when we're young is kind of a test to see if we're like left-hand path, right-hand path, and see where you're at. What will you do? You know? And then they know from there. Like that's probably
Right.
how they know where to put you. Like, oh, she's not gonna do that. And so then they put you in the like be the good cover over here. And so
Right,
then,
right.
okay, you're over there. But yeah, it's just weird to me. So it's let's see. I think I gotta find it. But yeah, it's just strange. I mean, and then we get into the Romneys, and like I said, and people should really be concerned about what happened with the Mormon missionaries because one thing is, even before, like right as Joseph Smith was going to die, he didn't know that yet. He was already arranging for people to go to Russia. Okay. They already sent Orson Hyde over to Israel to the Mount of Olives to claim a piece of the Mount of Olives before anything else had been done. Okay. Before any treaty, before any of that mess. No, they sent him there and he was of Jewish descent to claim that for the Mormon church and to bless it. Like, what does that mean when we go back to like, I'm going to stick my flag here, right?
Huh.
I don't know, but it's very interesting. So that's Orson Hyde. If anybody wants to double check me on that, he did that. Like, we have to step back and go, okay, well, why was Brigham Young over talking to the Queen in the 1800s too? I don't know.
Huh.
Like, we should probably wonder. It, it it's weird when
Yeah.
you start seeing it play into today.
So you said earlier on, so like, and this may
Mhm.
be just an idea or just kind of like a overall uh general view of this. So the Rosicrucians were fleeing out of Europe and they kind of
Yeah.
came over to America, right? There was a guy, uh was it Mad what? Madoc? Or
Oh, he wasn't on that boat, but
okay.
yeah. Yeah. He
But
was
then
on his own.
right, right. But he has affiliation and ties with these certain people over here in Europe and then starts
Yes.
this moon child or moon-eyed kind of
Moon-eyed people, whole
kind of
race
people,
of
right?
people. Mhm.
And then from there, this is kind of like where we're at. Okay, so
Yep.
I'm just following along, kind of
You're
just
good. I know
regathering
it's
everything back
almost like
together.
it's almost bananas. It's Howard Lorber who is the one that is the friend too of the
Okay.
other one. So just so people know, they can fact check it. But yeah, so basically here's the hypothesis of the whole thing for me. Anyways, we've got, multiple infiltrations all the way around. We've got Joseph Smith and his family stating they have Rosicrucian papers from the Mayflower. They have 7 different relatives on the Mayflower, and that becomes very important. I mean, when you have that many, there's only 100 people on the boat. You know, we're talking about first families. First families are seriously important in America. So when we're talking about that, we've got we've got that. We've got the connections through Salem and through the Goulds and the witchcraft trials and the whole thing there. We've got the connection to the Sykes family, who's a prominent Jewish family. And if you look that up, it's going to be crazy. Like it's so big. And I want to kind of do a deep dive on it, but I know I'm going to get crucified for it because you can't even hardly say the word. So I don't know what to do with that.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
sucks.
yeah, but I'm not even saying anything about like them that way, but it's going to be taken like that. You know what I mean? And so I'm
Yeah.
not saying anything that they're any more nefarious than all the rest of them. Then we've got Wheelock over at Dartmouth, who's working with different people, over in Britain. And they say that he had a copy of these Rosicrucian manuals and texts, and they're teaching it at Dartmouth to the Smiths and other people that are going there at this time, kind of in what I dare say is a mystery school. I think you nailed it. So we know that it's alive and well in this day. And I'm not saying all Rosicrucians are bad. I'm just saying I think this secret society aspect of all of this is a lot, okay, for the time. Then we've got William Huntington Russell, who goes and starts Skull and Bones, who is Joseph Smith's fifth cousin. Joseph Smith is also directly related to Rockefeller. And so when we see all this and we see this spread out through America, but then we also see his brother-in-law was a seeker and took off to Canada. The Romneys take off to Mexico. We've got all these people spreading out all over the place. Okay. Like not just America. We're talking worldwide. Okay. Infiltration at a high level, not of Mormonism, of this other whatever they're doing. Basically New World Order type stuff, And so when we look at that and we look at what John Dee said, I mean, he was definitely proposing that idea all the way around, right? That was one of his brainchild, like that was his. So when we see all of this come together in this day and age, the same families still being high on the hog, still having a lot of the pie. We get into the Pilgrim Society. We get into these other secret societies. Like, why do we have a Skull and Bones here in Utah? That was set up by the Skull and Bones there. That's not some copycat. They sent their alumni here to set that up for us because literally they were related to the people. And so, and also, by the way, there was one in Chicago called Alan Serpent. So it's closed down now, supposedly, but it was alive and well when the current prophet of the church was going there and was actually at that school. Okay. So you have to sit back and scratch your head because we also know the Strangite movement. He's in Wisconsin. He's at Beaver Island, and Jesse James Strang, what a name. But he's started something called the Halcyon Illuminati. I mean,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we
Okay.
are.
All right.
Holy
Hey,
cow.
what's a few technical difficulties? Come on now.
Yeah, you're doing an interview with me. I have had more than a few as of lately. I don't think they love that I talk. I'm sure they modify and look at
I'm
all
sure.
of
There's
that
just
stuff.
something on there, right?
Yep. Oh boy.
Keywords.
Yeah. So regardless, I very much encourage people to look at other countries that were infiltrated with the missionaries and Mormonism. The current prophet of the church was actually fired at BYU because of the infiltration through, sending missionaries to the CIA and FBI and whatnot. So it's not like we don't have a track record here, I mean, they're getting into Venezuela first. They're getting into El Salvador. They're getting into all these places. And we don't know what they're doing at that top level. And I will say this, they're sending their young men. It used to be at 19, but now it's at 18 on a 2-year mission that they pay for themselves. But what a cover if they're sending them away to a mystery school.
Right.
How would we know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to
wouldn't.
ask you, so I wanted to dig into just a little bit of Mormonism, the theology of it. Some people may understand it, some people may not understand it at all. I know you mentioned earlier in the show that the Trinity is kind of all distinct in a way to where they're all separate things. This is all
100%.
separate persons, right?
They believe that there's God the Father and the Son that was created not by a virginal birth, by actual physical. The quote is by passions and pleasures, just like any other man. So,
Okay. Okay. And so now is what about, where does Satan and Lucifer come into the theology of Mormonism?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So if you've seen the weird little cartoon on Mormonism, it's 100% true. It's Satan and was up there with Lucifer,
Mhm.
and he's one of God's sons too. He's Jesus's brother, and it's very on the nose with the whole Gnostic teaching. But anyway,
Mhm.
yeah, he wants to enforce the rules. He wants to have dominion, whereas Jesus was like, no, we should let him have free will and choose. And so, Lucifer gets mad and he's like, I don't like this idea, and I'm not going to bow to this little dirt monster you made. Like, forget that. And
Mhm.
so he's ticked and he's sent out with a third of the hosts, of heaven, and leaves. But for people that don't know, in the Mormon church, they believe you live a pre-existence. I mean, you're born as spirit children, and then you're waiting for a body,
So
and
reincarnation?
it's not
Maybe?
reincarnation per se. It's more like you just lived there before the one time. So you're up there waiting, and then
Okay.
you'll live afterward as well. And if you live well enough, you will become a god of your own world and you'll create a world. So only the men, though. The women,
Wow, okay.
they just get to be eternally pregnant, which sounds not good, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
not why I was mad or anything.
yeah.
I mean, could be worse, but yeah, you just have all the spirit children for the next world, and that's why this world exists. So it's very, um,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
similar.
Well, it's almost like there's a style of, like, death and rebirth with that idea, it's like you go on to the next life, you may have your own world, and it's a whole new restart, pretty much, which is, like, continuously a trending thing that happens in mystery religion and all that kinda
Yes.
stuff. Um,
Well, and
I
they
even see the
mention
the
Adamic
duality.
race. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they mention the Adamic language. They
Mhm.
mention, all this stuff that's kind of on the nose with Gnosticism, if you know about Gnosticism. But
Oh,
like
yeah.
I didn't know then, so I had no idea. I just thought, oh well, and you get a new name, and you become is kind of your new thing before, and then same thing like Michael was something else, and all these different things. So like it gets confusing, but it's very mystery school. Very.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how once you get a good grip, a good idea, of the theology of Gnosticism, really all the mystery schools are like Gnostic. It's just that theme is
It's so true.
slapped on
Yeah.
everything.
And I'm not even mad about it. Like, I understand that that's a big movement for people. And if you want to do whatever you want to do, that is fine. But I don't think it's fair. This is my whole reasoning why I speak out against the Mormons. They lie. I didn't know what a Mason was, and I wore Masonic emblems on my chest every day of my life for over 15 years. Like, come on. That is
Wow.
so unfair. Like, you don't even know anything. And all they tell you is this is about going to heaven. And that's it. This is just to get to that, other world and make it through the veil. And actually, one of the last things you learn, because you're learning past, grips and all the things, it's very Masonic, and when you get to the veil for one of your last things, like health in the navel, marrow in the bones, it's like a grimoire. It's a real grimoire. Like when you look it up, I'm like, wait, what is happening here? Like, if you want to do magic, okay. But don't tell people they're not doing magic and that they're just doing what God wants and like not telling us anything. That's not fair. Like, that's
Mhm.
horrible. You should know what you're doing, and they don't do that. That's not fair. So therefore they're using people as food because they are literally using fear, or and you promise all your time, talents, and tithing to the church, you promise you'll give everything. And so, you do. Like all of the clergy in the Mormon church is an unpaid position unless you made it to the quorum of the 70, period.
Mm. What is
So
that?
the quorum of the 70, there's the quorum of the 12 and the quorum of the 70, and then the three Godhead basically of the church, which is the prophet and his first and second counselors. So um, that's the structure of the church. There's also a quorum of the 50, which they say is gone now. I don't think it's gone, but whatever. They can say whatever they want. That was non-Mormons and Mormons, and more for the financial side of things. So like they had other people on the board to help them make decisions and other stuff. But the quorum of the 70 is the anointed, kind of like, you know, in the quorum of the 12s, like the apostles, and the quorum of the 70 and 70s anyways, a magical, but whatever. They can say it's not. Yeah. So it helps make decisions. They're basically on the board.
Gotcha.
If I
Why
had to put
70?
it. Well, that's my guess is it's I mean, it's on purpose is my guess, but whatever.
That's wild.
I mean, yeah. And it just makes me laugh because they say, "Oh, we got rid of this. Oh, we got rid of that." And then at the heart of it, you've got these polygamists that are like, "No, we didn't get rid of anything." And so part of the black race for the true Mormon religion, the real start, okay, the reason why they couldn't hold the priesthood, it wasn't the mark of Cain like people think, okay? It wasn't that. It was because they were the fence sitters in heaven. Remember, we lived before we lived here, and when that war in heaven happened, you were supposed to choose a side. So if you chose to, you didn't know, you didn't make a decision, bad or good, then you became black. And I remember a time not very long ago in the 90s, my grandpa called black people fence sitters all the time. And I mean, if they didn't know, I guess that's not the worst, but it's pretty bad. I mean, now that I know what it really truly means, I'm like, geez, grandpa. But I mean, I get that that's their teachings, but it's very much Great White Brotherhood, right? And I mean, the only way they could get to heaven was like to be the servant of the white man and all this stuff. But that's not how Joseph Smith originally had it. Joseph wasn't quite as bad as that, but he also wasn't like that with women. And I kind of think that's what got him off, you know. He definitely was killed by his own people. Brigham Young definitely probably planned that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Did Joseph Smith have any experience with like Enochian material, or is that just a John Dee thing?
Source says no. His papers say yes, because he's writing. Okay. Yeah, when he has some grimoires, you know, he has some Smith family parchments. 100%, he knew what he was doing there. So, Solomonic magic. He died with a Jupiter talisman in his pocket that is exactly like from, you know, the grimoires, like the whole Keys of Solomon. Like, I mean, he definitely knew, and he got it from the Magus because there's a mistake in one part of it, the way they wrote it, and it was written like that. And so we kind of have it narrowed down as to where he got his information from, because it could have been other sources, but the Magus is the only one with that tiny little mistake. So,
and the Magus is what is that? The Magus,
like, you know, it's the magical books, you know, these grimoires, and so the Keys of Solomon is a part of that, and that, you know, this. You know, I'm talking about the Keys of Solomon.
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So that, and there's other books that he clearly read. I mean, they talk about the Scotichronicon, and, you know, there's a lot of proof that says he did read some of these things, even though he didn't have access, even though his uncle Johnny, whatever, it was a cousin, Professor Johnny Smith, cousin of his grandparents is what it is. Rare book stealer and teacher at Dartmouth, and he was over the library. So clearly he had access to books. I mean, they want to lie and say, oh, he only had access to the Bible and that was it.
What do you think the grimoires were? Like, on a spiritual level?
Sibley's Book of Witchcraft, I dare say he definitely had. Scotichronicon, I would dare say he had. Definitely the Magus. Those are the ones for sure, you know, that he had access, I'm sure, because of these parchments, not because I know, just because of what he's reproduced on his own. So you can see it, you know, through his writings, and there's other journals that they won't release. So I'm sure we're never going to see certain things. The Joseph Smith papers does have a lot in it. They just hope you don't go see it. So,
or find it or research it or whatever.
Yeah.
It probably won't be on the first top Google.
No, you're going to have to dig. Yeah, you'll have to dig. But, you know, one way or another, like I said, I mean, the Max is an interesting line too. We can't count them out. The Goulds are very into things like we see all of this, and it can't mean nothing. I mean, they're recreating some of this stuff. They're using codes in this spy ring that I'm looking at right now that definitely align with Dee's teachings and different things. So we see this almost every single time with these occultists, right? Like Crowley, he's a spy. Dee was a spy. Like all these people are spies, and Crowley hated religion and he hated religious people, but he sure did like Joseph Smith. So he actually referenced him in the book Moonchild. In the bottom footnotes in Moonchild, he actually references him. And not only does he reference like a whole quote about him, but he puts, "This is Joseph Smith." Like he made sure people knew that he was talking about him.
Right. And he's getting his thoughts and inspirations from this guy.
Yep. I'm like, oh, okay then.
Wow.
And he really looked up to him. And I just guess it's, like recognizes like. I'm sure. And the funny thing is what they called one of the parchments, before they called it, the Book of Mormon, they called it the Book of the Law.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Can't make it up, right?
Oh,
Crowley
man.
was a
Well,
fanboy.
yeah, and then Crowley, obviously had kind of like a similar experience where he's had in connection with AWAS, right?
Yep.
And what does he do? He scribes basically for this
Yes.
external entity or outside alien foreign entity, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, I kind of I know this sounds bad, but in a way I can respect Crowley a little bit better because he's one of the few that didn't lie. He's like, yeah, I talked to this thing, and he didn't say it was an angel. He was like, I don't know, I think it's an alien, but
Yeah.
he just wrote all this stuff. But like Van Tassel gets into that. Like there's a lot of weird things that are associated that always are swirling around Mormonism. And it's not them alone, like Scientology. All of them, like you said, it's like this underpinning of the secret people, right? Like all these secret people, they seem to have this weird underpinning of these occult schools. Obviously, they go back to somewhere, and my guess is Canaan. I mean, it's Zoroastrianism,
Mm-hmm.
It's just clearly carried on and sprouted out. However, it's like masonry, right? They all start their own little way, right?
Right.
You're supposed to go find your way and make your own thing. So
Yeah.
that's what they do. But I'm not even mad at them. Like, you know what? Go ahead. But like at the end of the day, be honest. That's all. Don't tell my old grandma she's just going to heaven.
Right. It's
Bad.
crazy too because of what you presented tonight. I can make some connections to just basically like so Manly P. Hall, right? He's
Oh,
a
yeah.
renowned Freemason, and he wrote a book called Secret Destiny of America. When I zoom out from like a really like deep view of all of this, I'm kind of seeing maybe well, not maybe, but I see it as a spiritual influence from back in the 1500s to where we are today, where Manly P. Hall talks about that the secret destiny of America is for basically this ruler that's going to come through a bloodline. We talked about like the dragon, right, and the bloodlines tonight or whatever. But that this person that's going to come into power is going to have supernatural abilities and capabilities that are godlike. So I'm really wondering when I look at everything, the 13 colonies and the establishment of the United States, when I look at Washington D.C. being similar to Rome, at the Vatican, I mean, it's a city state, but it's got occult symbolism up and down, right? The obelisk and the dome, and it's set up for this apotheosis ritual to happen where someone is to come into power and be this great ruler,
Well, and he's
That's
going to
kinda like how I
come
see it.
saying peace, right? He's going to come
Sure,
screaming
yeah.
peace. But I think you're 100% right because I've listened to that book, The Secret Destiny of America. And a lot of it resonated with me. And I was like, okay, and again, we get into Rosicrucianism. And the weird thing is as much as there's always a Mormon there, a lot of times there's a Rosicrucian there too. It's very strange. Like Sir Hans Sirhan,
Mm.
he was in Amorc. I have his card, so like not that I have a copy of it, but like his actual card. And when we get into this stuff, I mean, it's just so easy to control people through religion, right? Like this is one of the ways that they can do that. And it's not made up. I don't think that. I think it all is definitely, there's some destiny there. There's the Bible, there's all of it. And we look at, I think the biggest thing for me that was eye opening is the stuff about Francis Bacon. Like, I mean, is this just a grand experiment of the Brave New World? But when you look at, like you said, the Vatican, okay, it looks like a keyhole from above, right?
Yeah, it really does.
Okay, but so does the Mormon Church's temple in Salt Lake City.
Wow.
And so does the Mormon Church's temple in Nauvoo. And so does Onassis's original emblem for the Onassis Foundation. And they all look the same.
Wow.
And why?
Hmm.
I mean, come on. If it's a keyhole, then they've got the key. I think it's more like this tote of like, yeah, me too, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I do.
Wild stuff, man. Fun
It's
stuff to talk
crazy.
about, though.
Oh,
I like making these
100%.
connections and steering people to more of an accurate look at history. Some of the
Yes.
things we're told what to think. We're told what to believe. It may be true, but it may be skewed, right? There's certain, if they say one thing, then they're not saying another purposely. So
Mhm.
just figure out what other history that's not talked about, and then draw your
Try
own
and
conclusions with
dissect
a lot
it.
of it.
Yeah, try and
Yeah.
dissect it. Well, and that's the hard part because, like, here we are, like you said, oh, yeah, we learn about Columbus. Oh, yeah, we know about this or that. But, like, at the end of the day, what do we really know? We weren't there. We weren't there.
Right.
They probably just laugh at all of us, and people don't want to read. Like, it's a pain. I'm going to tell you, like, right now, it is difficult to do deep research into stuff, not just get on AI and check it out. Like, you've got to verify stuff because PS, if you guys are just doing AI, it lies, by the way. And it's been well known to lie. And so it'll start going off in a weird tangent. And if you tell it to stop lying to you, sometimes it will, but sometimes it won't. You've got to check it. You might get an idea from AI, but you better go vet it, find a book, find something. I don't care what, but
Right.
you can't just, and some people do. Some people just go strictly off of that, and I mean, they can if they want to, but I don't think you're going to get the truth. They're just keeping us busy, fat, and happy, and high.
And high. Yeah. Right. Exactly. I mean, they're trying to keep us in a really docile state, which is, I mean,
Yeah.
understandable. I get it.
Yeah. I don't,
mean,
and I'm not saying any of that's bad per se. Be a slave to nothing. Live your life that way. I'm not saying people that are in pain or use it for certain things, but you have to remember something. They CRISPR gene edited your weed too. So,
I'm sure. Yeah. With the
100%.
technology today, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
All those seeds went into Bill Gates' little lockup, and you guys know it. Like, all the heirloom seeds are gone. He has them, and he admits it, and that's all over. So they don't give us any. Why is opium synthetic for people now? Right? Like, if you go get surgery, you get pain medicine, but it's not real. It's not real. That's like baloney medicine. That's like made. It's probably half baby powder. Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean,
petroleum or something.
yeah, it's not real. I'm not saying we should be just willy-nilly handing that out either. I don't want opium dens back or anything, but like, if you've had surgery or something, yeah, that would be nice if it worked,
Yeah.
Maybe it isn't as addictive in its original form. I don't know. I wasn't around, but as a nurse, I find it interesting. That's for sure.
Sure. It's really weird too, right? Like Bill Gates, the Rockefeller Foundation, Gavi, they have like this doomsday seed vault up in like the Arctic Circle somewhere. I think it's in like Norway or something, but over 600,000 species of seeds that they have 100 meters down underground pretty much. But to me, that just kind of screams, hey, we're going to control the food in the future. Like,
Oh,
this is
me
just
too.
here, but don't worry about it. It's for safety. or preparation for something. I don't know.
Well, the whole thing with Bill Gates is, he is the largest landowner for farming, not in total, but for farming in America. But he's only second to one, and that is, the LDS Church is number 2. So
No way.
But are they
Wow.
working together? Oh, let's
Sure.
see. Their stock portfolio says, number 1. You wouldn't invest number 1 stock portfolio person and want them to fail. By the way, he's family. Like, come on. Come on.
Yeah. That's a good way to centralize the food system, 100%. For sure.
Absolutely scary. And I think Joseph Smith, as much as I talk about Joseph Smith and his family probably being into the occult and woo-woo and whatever, I kind of feel like he was more honest. I know that he probably lied about the women, but if you guys know anything about probably why he had that many spiritual wives, I mean, they do sex magic. Like, you can't do that just with one person all the time. It's not going to work the same. It's not my deal. I'm from what I've read. So my guess is that's probably what was happening there. Like I said, I think he was at least more honest. Whereas Brigham Young, he died almost one of the wealthiest of his time.
Wow.
And he wasn't a closer. Like, come on, 55 wives and only like 57 kids. You failed.
Oh, man.
I know polygamists that have like 17 kids for one lady, so.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, Heidi, this has been an awesome show. I'd like to give you a few minutes if there was anything you wanted to wrap up.
Yeah.
If there's anything you wanted to kind of bring together here. But we'll just kind of bring it into a landing.
All right. Well, this has been fun. I encourage everybody, to look into history. History is probably one of the funnest things you'll learn about. If you really deep dive into it, it's a lot more interesting than they made us believe at school. That's for sure. So I'm definitely going to be doing that. I'm going to start. I'm almost ready to release my first one. These are going to be solo podcasts about just history of Mormonism. I'm going to try to make it be brutal truth, but not leaning. Just so that both people can listen, because I just think it's fair to present. You probably won't like everything I've found, but that's okay. It is what it is. You can't change the past. We can only look at it. And so I'm going to be doing that. And you guys can find me everywhere podcasts are served, unfilteredrisespodcast.com, my Patreon as well, Unfiltered Rise, and on all the socials and everywhere like that. I do post quite a little bit of, we'll just say, scandalous stuff about the Mormon Church on X, if you guys get bored.
Dude, X is like ruthless. X is hardcore.
So crazy. Oh my gosh. When I first got on there, I was like, whoa, what is happening? This is not nice Instagram or Facebook over here.
No, it's the wild, wild west. It's the wild, wild
really
west.
Is.
But it's awesome.
You'll get people that'll post things back that you're just like, whoa, and then you go look it up and it's true. So it's a wealth of knowledge, that's for sure.
It is. There's a lot of information that goes out on X.
100%.
I posted a short today. It was of Jesse. I'm trying to reel Jesse back in, so I posted a few shorts of him out on social media. But TikTok, I mean, everything I post on TikTok is a community guideline thing, and it's nothing really bad at all. Like zero. I don't know.
Once you get tagged for one thing on there, they tag everything. I literally posted me and my husband on a date night and it got tagged. So I'm like, okay, I give up. Like,
I've had an account terminated. We had like almost 20,000 followers on TikTok, and it got no explanation, nothing, just nuked.
Oh my gosh. That's the scary thing. You do all this work and you try, because it is a lot of work for people that don't know,
It is.
We're doing a lot behind the sidelines just to keep that momentum up, even is a lot of work. And so, it's a bummer.
Yeah. Well, with all that work, it helps for the folks to support us. So, where can the folks support you, Heidi?
Yes, of course. Yeah, definitely at Patreon. Like I said, for $5, you can get rid of those commercials and you can get 2 extra shows a month. I do some pretty wild deep dives with Deplorable Nation and Janet. We dig into some weird medical stuff. So we have an upcoming one that's all going to be about like the asylums and like all the weird stuff that happened and electrocuting people and all kinds of crazy stuff they used to do to people to cure them. We always joke we would have definitely been in there together, I'm sure.
That's funny.
At Bedlam. Yeah.
Well, folks, be sure to go over support Heidi on her platforms and wherever she can use it. But Heidi, thank you so much. This has been a lot of
you.
fun, and this episode will be released immediately as soon as I can get to it. And I'd love to work with you again in the future, and I'm sure
Yeah.
the audience would love to have you back. But thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I appreciate you for everything you do, and hope to get you back on soon and in the future.
Of course. I look forward to the next one.
All right. God bless. All right. Biblical Hitman Debrief. Heidi, thank you so much for coming on the show. What an episode, folks. And I love the research that she brings because it's in depth. I like the presentation style and I like the concepts, right? Like this one we were getting into bloodlines in some sort of way, tracing back to European England, kind of areas. And thinking about it, you can kind of question maybe what is like the real story of the establishment of America, or, what people were here before Columbus and that whole kind of like just that narrative, right? Like that educational narrative of, how the Americas were found and the story behind it, right? And I think why we're told these kinds of narratives is because there's a lot of history that is purposely hidden because it has so many occult roots and connections to certain lineages that the questions don't deserve answers in their opinion. So they don't want you to understand what they've done for generations or what dynasties they come from, and what religion they practiced, or just what their philosophies are in the world. So a lot of that stuff's crazy, man. And I like the road she took us down. It was fascinating. So much stuff to get into. Oh man, this would have been an awesome episode to bring in Tim Constantine and her with because I've had Tim on, Heidi coming on, kind of like the same general idea of possibly what was going on in the Americas before 13 colonies, and just back in like the 15, 14, 1300s in the Americas, what was going on, right? Like mounds, giants, serpent bloodlines, like what's going on here? And the religion coming behind or with a lot of uh, these bloodlines, families, genealogies, whatever, it goes back to what I think is like this serpent cult, this serpent bloodline, which does have a root in Gnostic theology, where basically, like, hey, Lucifer, good guy. Like, we were supposed to break this jail from the demiurge. We're supposed to enlighten and gain knowledge so that we can be gods. And it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Their salvation is not repentance. Their salvation is enlightenment. So when you have that concept, you have to understand that the adversary for the Gnostic perspective is the Christian God. Like out of all the other religions, if Gnosticism could go and point at any one of those gods and call them demiurge, they can't, because it only points the finger towards the Christian God, right? Jesus Christ. They try to compare God as like just this ascending master. It's false. It's a false religion that preaches a false God. And so we just need to bring light to these certain things. And I love having conversations like this to try and arouse this kind of material, because it's material that needs to be talked about. It needs to be discussed. And the New Age, the Theosophy, the Gnostic, the mystery schools, all of this mystery religion needs to start to be exposed, because we're living in a day that's close to disclosure. We're living in days that seem to be close to war. Like, we need to be steadfast in Christ. We need to be steadfast and rooted in the gospel, so that when there is a false gospel that's out there that is some way, shape, or form evangelized onto the world, we gotta be strong against it. Like, you can't just give into something that is so seducing and sensual and feels liberating. You have to understand the truth. You got to come back to the truth. And so, but folks, with all that said, awesome episode, Heidi. Thank you so much, and hope to come on your show. I think I think we've got something like that set up. So looking forward to it. And folks, be sure to go ahead and support, Heidi wherever you can. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to support the work that I do here and the show, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like the show, share it with your friends, and support the show also on audio platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, wherever you can consume any of your audio content. It's where the show is. If you like the show, you like the guests, you had a good time, be sure to leave a 5-star review, hit that follow button, hit the notification bell, because we're posting episodes again, baby. Let's go. But with all that said, much love, everybody. Blessings, and have a good night. See ya next time.